Manipulate, blackmail, bully, gaslight, and force the palace into having him.
Is this a humiliation? Are they coming back with their tails between their legs? Are they coming back and are they admitting that the American dream didn't quite work out?
She is coming home. After 6 years, 2 continents, and one very expensive experiment in being famous instead of being royal, Meghan Markle is moving back to Britain. And there is exactly one place in that country she will never be allowed to stand again.
He's the poster boy for privacy. He's betrayed the privacy of his closest family. The truth, the real truth, not my truth, is that Harry doesn't have a problem with the press.
Not the palace, not the country, not even the crown itself, but a balcony, 7 feet of stone above the gates of Buckingham Palace, is where Meghan Markle's return to Britain may already have been silently blocked, because King Charles may forgive conversations, interviews, lawsuits, statements, and storms, but before he gives her that balcony again.
Together, I did say that Sussexes are desperate. Desperate to come back to Britain, desperate to find some purpose in life, desperate to get royal approval again so they can somehow be revalidated.
There is another place he must confront first, a locked cottage about a mile away, sitting empty like a royal warning nobody wants to explain. Let the facts move in the order the palace fears most.
Is William and Charles now furious that they're coming back? I imagine William is. Was King Charles kind of excited?
Because this did not begin with emotion. It began with timing. The question was never simply whether Prince William and King Charles were furious that Prince Harry and Meghan were coming back. Of course, William may be furious, but the deeper clue is that the return had already been decided before the public was allowed to understand it. And once that timeline appears, every official silence starts looking less like confusion and more like control. On Sunday, King Charles was told. By Wednesday, the story was everywhere. The BBC, the Telegraph, the New York Times, CNN, all carrying the same explosive line. Harry and Meghan were returning to the United Kingdom this month. Archie, now 7, and Lilibet, 5, were enrolled to start at a British school in September, barely a fortnight away. That means this was not a sudden family decision. It means arrangements were already in motion before Britain was invited to react, and that alone changes everything. Then came the Telegraph wording, and this is where the real palace signal was hidden in plain sight. A private non-royal residence, no plans to resume royal duties. The king was informed on Sunday, not consulted. Those words are not decoration, they are a boundary line. Meghan is coming back into Britain, but not back inside the working royal family. She is returning to the country while being kept outside the institution. That is the contradiction nobody can soften. And now the balcony becomes evidence. Meghan Markle has stood on the Buckingham Palace balcony exactly twice in her life. The first time was June 9th, 2018, 1 month after the wedding, wearing pale pink Carolina Herrera, an off-the-shoulder dress, a Philip Treacy hat, and carrying the full weight of a nation that had genuinely decided to love her. She looked polished, accepted, almost inevitable. But that moment was not a beginning. It was a clock starting. The second time was June 8th, 2019, Navy Blue by Claire Waite-Keller, the same woman who made her wedding dress. Archie was only a month old. Meghan looked tired, uncertain, but she smiled through the fly past anyway. And then that was it. 2 mornings, 12 months apart, and never again. For a working royal of nearly 2 years, that number is not small. It is suspicious. It becomes even sharper beside the Princess of Wales, who has stood on that balcony almost every June for 15 years. Catherine became part of the rhythm. Meghan remained an interruption, but the end did not arrive through shouting. It arrived through a memo. May 6, 2022, a short, flat, Platinum Jubilee Palace statement declared the balcony was limited to working members of the royal family. No names, no attack, no drama. It did not need to name Meghan because the exclusion was already obvious. 11 words on palace paper did what no interview could undo. Limited to working members of the royal family. That sentence became the quietest weapon in the entire Sussex story. Then came the image everyone remembers from the Jubilee flypast. Harry and Meghan were not on the balcony. They were watching from a window in the Major General's office, off to the side, looking out at the backs of everyone else's heads. Someone photographed them through the glass. Meghan smiled in that picture, but the picture itself told the truth. She was close enough to see the ceremony but not allowed to stand inside it. That is not coincidence. That is ranking. And it did not stop there. At the coronation in May 2023, Harry came alone. Meghan stayed away. Harry was seated in the third row, behind a hat, and he was on a plane back to California before the carriages had finished moving. No balcony again. No public restoration. No sign that the palace intended to reopen the door. There has not been a balcony for Meghan since the summer Archie was born. Now drive a mile from that balcony logic, because the same rule is sitting in bricks at Windsor. Frogmore Cottage, on the Frogmore estate inside Home Park, is Grade 2 listed Crown Estate land with 5 bedrooms. The late Queen gave it to Harry and Meghan in 2019 as their wedding home. It was the first and only home they ever had as a married royal couple. Then, in June 2023, they handed back the keys. And here is the detail that should stop everyone cold. Frogmore has reportedly been empty ever since. Not reassigned, not repurposed. Empty. 3 years of an unlit 5-bedroom house on the king's doorstep. Heating ticking just enough to protect the walls. Dust sheets. Silence. A nursery with nothing in it. Close enough every June to hear the guns of the birthday salute across the park. And nobody inside to hear them. They even tried to give it to Prince Andrew. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the one man in that family with genuinely nowhere to go, was quietly shown a fully refurbished 5-bedroom house, and he said no. He chose Marsh Farm on the Sandringham estate instead. Think about what that means. What does Frogmore represent if even Andrew would rather go to Norfolk than sleep in Meghan's old bedroom? Then the money exposes the illusion. Frogmore was built in 1801 for Queen Charlotte as Double Garden Cottage, reportedly by Tom Bower for $450. By the early 2000s, it had been split into 5 separate units for Windsor estate workers, gardeners, and groundsmen. 5 families, 5 doors, 5 kitchens. Then in 2019, it was hollowed out and stitched back into one single home for Harry, Meghan, and the baby on the way. The bill came to $2.4 million from the sovereign grant. Yes, they paid it back. In September 2020, after the Netflix money landed, $2.4 million was received by the Crown, with part offset against rent. But that repayment may be the most revealing thing Meghan ever did, because it suggests she believed the sheikh settled something bigger. She may have thought paying the invoice turned permission into possession. But Frogmore was never ownership. It was a license to occupy, not a deed, not a lease. A permission slip with an expiry date. That date was March 2022. In February, they applied to renew it. The renewal never came. No refusal, no explanation, just silence. Then in January 2023, days after Spare went on sale, the letter arrived asking them to vacate by June. The keys returned to Windsor. The locks belonged to someone else, and the most photographed woman in the world discovered she had been a guest the entire time. And that is where the palace strategy suddenly becomes visible. Because once Frogmore is understood as permission instead of property, every other royal privilege starts looking exactly the same. The balcony was permission. Frogmore was permission. Working royal status was permission. None of it was permanent, and the announcement bringing Harry and Meghan back to Britain quietly confirmed it all over again. No royal residence, no royal duties. Those 2 phrases did not simply describe their future. They defined its limits. Meanwhile, another door unexpectedly opened. On July 10 this year, King Charles and Queen Camilla reportedly hosted Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, Archie and Lilibet at Highgrove for their first proper family sit-down in a very long time, warm by all accounts. But within days, another journey raised even bigger questions. The family traveled to Althorp in Northamptonshire as guests of Earl Spencer, Diana's childhood home. Suddenly, the Sussexes had access to the one great English estate that still appeared completely open to them. Then, the photographs appeared. Meghan's Instagram summer holiday photo dump looked innocent enough until eagle-eyed followers noticed 5-year-old Lilibet walking through the countryside at what appeared to be Althorp. Another image showed Harry walking a hedge-lined path with Archie and Lilibet, both children carrying flowers. Diana is buried on an island in the middle of the oval lake at Althorp. Everyone immediately understood where that path seemed to lead. Nobody explicitly claimed the children visited Diana's grave. They did not need to. The photographs allowed the audience to reach that conclusion themselves, making the implication far more powerful than any caption ever could. That is exactly why palace concern reportedly intensified. A royal source described King Charles as genuinely shocked. Even people who normally refuse to criticize Harry and Meghan were said to be wincing. The phrase quietly circulating inside royal circles was remarkably careful. Some family moments are simply too sacred to share. That was not merely criticism of a photograph. It was concern about a pattern. Access to private family spaces repeatedly becoming public content within days. According to the report, reporting in the source material. Earl Spencer himself reportedly saw no problem, with sources suggesting increased attention to Diana's resting place was ultimately good for the family estate. But Buckingham Palace and Althorp operate according to completely different priorities. One protects an institution built on discretion. The other manages a historic estate welcoming visitors. Those two worlds suddenly collided. Then another silence became impossible to ignore. Buckingham Palace issued no statement whatsoever about Harry and Meghan's reported relocation. Every article traced back to a source close to the couple. No confirmation, no denial, nothing. In royal history, silence is rarely accidental. It often signals that a decision has already been made behind closed doors and no further negotiation remains. At the same time, reports suggested their Montecito mansion, with its 16 bathrooms and substantial monthly running costs, could be heading for the market while they searched for a home in England. Yet even if they settle in the Cotswolds, as reported by The Sun, or somewhere near Northamptonshire within easy reach of Althorp, one thing does not change. They still return without a royal residence, without automatic police protection after Harry's court defeat against the Home Office, and without working royal status. Which brings the story back to the balcony, where everything quietly began. Next June, the guards will march, the flypast will cross London, and the Buckingham Palace balcony will again open for working members of the royal family. If Harry and Meghan are living somewhere in the Cotswolds or near Althorp, they may be less than an hour away, yet still watching from a television instead of from behind those famous railings. According to the source narrative, King Charles did not simply refuse a house. He defined the boundary between private family and public monarchy. The unresolved question now shifts to Prince William. If Frogmore is eventually dismantled, the balcony remains closed, and the Sussexes return only as private residents of Britain, what future does William believe still exists for Harry's family inside the institution? That answer has not yet been revealed, and it may become the next chapter in a story that is still unfolding.